ask everyone to stand for the pledge of allegiance. We're going to start the poll. District 1, Jasmine Rose. District 2, Mark Christmas. District 3, Dr. Jesse Marie. District 4 is Victoria Williams. District 5 is Dr. D. Hagan. District 6 is Mary Baker. District 7 is Sabrina. Ms. Joy Chalice Cooper, and our District 9. Superintendent Dr. Anthony Smith, President, Senior Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Doug. Attorney Cliff Jordan. Board Liaison, Tony Blackwood. Assistant to Superintendent, Ms. Alicia Abbott. Assistant to Deputy Superintendent, Ms. Dawn Miles.
Present.
Thank you. Now I'm going to read the ethics statement. In accordance to the board policy BH, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and the appearance of such conflicts. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of such conflict with respect to any of the matters scheduled to come before the board at this meeting or appearing on our proposed agenda? If so, please identify the conflict or the appearance of conflict and refrain from participation in the matter involved. I now need a motion for the adoption of the agenda. Ms. Cooper? Second. Okay, the motion has been made and properly seconded. Can I get a vote? It's unanimous. I think we have recommendations for the executive session. Or did we just give them? No. Okay, no recommendations from the executive session. We now move to board updates. I'll start with Mrs. Joy Tellis Cooper and come around.
Just really quickly, I wanted to just thank everyone for the thoughts, the prayers, any calls, any communications, the cards, the texts that you sent to me and my family, and also to the Board of Education and the Foundation Board. They sent a beautiful spray for my grandmother's funeral, so I truly appreciate everybody that has reached out. So thank you so much.
So you want me to come back to you? All right, it's not the heat.
So it's on.
I want to just give some thanks and kudos to and some special recognitions to some cabinet members, the leadership team, Dr. Hopkins, Dr. Shanice Radcliffe, as well as Dr. Sean Johnson. And the reason I'm chose I'm not getting anyone on the leadership cabinet to understand, they have been instrumental in helping past couple of weeks, especially Dr. Hopkins, in helping to resolve a situation that had panned itself out, but I want to give those recognitions to those individuals. And, you know, in particular, also to Dr. Sharman for just teaching along the way about how the inside instruction curriculum goes, as well as Dr. Shanice Radcliffe, who also ensures that we are taken care of in our elementary schools. So I just wanted to just give that up to them and let them know that I appreciate you for helping me along the way and teaching me along the way. So let's just give it up for them, y'all. Let's give it up.
I'm just gonna take a moment, I talked to somebody who said they didn't know who was going to be. to transportation, Ms. Hall, a driver, Ms. Sterling, and another person, I'm sorry, I forgot his name. We had a situation with, I believe, it's Houston County. Their bus got stranded and are paying, same day. I was looking for their capes tonight, they didn't have them on, so, supposed to get a couple of Superman capes, one of the capes, because that is the ultimate of our neighbor, so I was looking forward to them. I want to say thank you for everybody who started off the school year. If you don't know, I was in the kindergarten, and we'll be all very for so I'm glad to be back, and I want you guys to keep this up and rolling, and to my board members who stood in and visited the school. And everything. So,
Ms. Hall, the name of that individual was Ms. Hall here with us? Yeah, what was the name of that other individual?
It's David Lewis, Jill Turner, and Elizabeth Starr.
Thank you very much. Ms. Williams?
Good evening, everybody. I just want to thank everybody who came out and made my back to school, the third annual back to school event successful. Frank and his team and all the departments that came out. I can thank y'all and thank everybody else for all of them in the school.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Dr. Norwood?
I'm going to start out by thanking Dr. Smith and the Board of Education for a vote that we had at our last board meeting to unanimously approve our contract with the community school. I'm really full today. I went to get some food from my favorite place in New York last week, and not paying any attention to what we try to be courteous and asking that if don't pick up their food. And so they said they had, and so I said my name to the people so I can get my meal. A gentleman said behind me said, "Oh, I know who you are." And he noticed a lady next to him, she was distraught and rubbing her eyes. And so he said to her, "You know, you might need to talk to her, telling the young lady." So she started telling me her story about her children, they were sleeping in her car, and how she needed her car to do Uber Eats and all that type of stuff. So I got her name, and so I talked to her, and I contacted Ms. Davis, and then I actually went to the football game and ran into somebody that worked for CIS. And he said, "Hey, Ms. Rory, I talked to this person, and we got her a room for the weekend and for the evening." And she said that when I talked to her, she said, "I'm so happy that I have a room and that my children are taking a shower and they're in bed." I'm full because I don't even think about that when I'm in my car. And let me tell you about these people that work for us. I emailed Dr. Redcliffe, Ms. Davis, Ms. Bernard, Dr. Smith. Probably even have somebody I can't even think of this morning. And I'm telling you that within probably an hour, I got called from Ms. Davis. I got emails going back and forth. I didn't just set in motion. One of her kids should have been in preschool, but she didn't, she's pre-K, but she didn't have a spot, so she couldn't do her job having a kid in the car. And she's all set up. Phone turned back on, transportation. I cried most of the day. Because I can't even imagine my family being like that. And I thank the board because nobody thinks about what these agencies do for our kids. Nobody thinks about the problems that our parents are having. And when those people go on their moms and dad's page, and then I was talking about what we don't do, I hope all the people that are looking know this is what we do. And these people today just showed me how much they love and care for the people that we serve. So I want to thank LP and Charlotte, I don't know if I said it, John Johnson, but elementary, y'all did y'all thing. And one other group that I want to just mention is the maintenance department. You know, we don't ever put them on our agenda that much, but let me tell you, when we need something, they come through. And call the name of Patricia Eaton Grace. I know we lost a student at Henry Roberts and lost a member at Lovejoy, but I wanted to call her name because she was somebody that I supervised and she passed last week. So I want to, hope at some point we finish, we'll take a couple moments aside.
You can do that right now.
Well, I can't remember her guy's name, Mr. Strickler, but please keep these families in prayer because losing a child, that's something. And forgive me, y'all, just a moment today. Thank you, Lord, for the blessings that you continue to give me and my family. And I will say you.
Mr. Christmas? Ms. Wells?
Yes, I'll be brief. I really have two updates, and the first is, kind of a shout out. I want to say congratulations, kudos, and also happy belated birthday to Board Member Sabrina Hill. And the reason I'm giving her congrats and kudos, I'm sure that as we return back to her updates, she will share, so I don't want to steal her thunder. But I had the opportunity to attend her housing conference this weekend in partnership with NACA. And when I say this weekend, I didn't say Friday, and I didn't say Saturday, and I didn't say Sunday, and that's because it was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Just so that a person who attended on Friday that needed to return the paperwork had two opportunities to do so. And as a result of so much of this work, lives were changed. And I know that she will probably include this in her update. She'll likely do it with a beautiful dose of humility. And I just wanted to acknowledge her publicly in front of all of you. And I think she should do that with excellence, but she did it on and for her own birthday. So y'all just help me support her and congratulate. So for saying our county, and so many folks had housing who didn't, who attended. My second update is so that you all know that yes, there's a lot going on, but you also need some opportunities to take care of yourself. And so the first Wellness Wednesday of the school year is this Wednesday. We're going to have yoga and sound therapy. First version this Wednesday of the school year, 5:30, and for you to use it to see it. That's all I'll share.
Thank you, Ms. Wells. Ms. Hill?
Thank you, Ms. Bowles. As we sit here, this evening was a heart full of gratitude. First, I want to say thank you, Dr. Smith, for your unwavering support on this endeavor. For you saying yes to us using taking time for such an incredible meeting. I want to thank Dr. Duncan. I want to thank our incredible team across the district. While I may have hosted, this has always been a district effort. There's nothing we do if we don't do it together. And so I want to say thank you to our IT staff. They went above and beyond. Our custodian, our safety and security team. And these are things that made it the impossible possible. We serve over 500 people every 2 hours. It blew my mind how grateful people were. But not only were we serving thousands, but it was peaceful. People came in on purpose and with a purpose. People came in at 8 o'clock, left out at 8 p.m., and they were approved for a home with a realtor the day before. Look at how it was on Saturday. The NACA organization was a well-oiled machine. We worked seamlessly, even on Friday when we were working behind the scenes with IT. Truly this evening, I have no adequate word for what I witnessed, but I only was able to witness it because of our district, because of the people that I work alongside of to do this work. And you say, why so hard on housing? Because I know that our staff, you got this. You work tirelessly to ensure that our children have a high quality education. We know that in our community, we have a high population of homeless. In order for us to make sure our children are whole and healthy, we have to make sure our community mirror what we are working to do. What I witnessed at this particular event is we have staff that showed up, and they would tell me, make sure that they were a priority. I moved them to the front of the line because my partners were not going to tell that they were a priority. We did something that was unprecedented, and that was because of our leadership and because of what you all did. Currently, right now, we are experiencing a lot of and it doesn't look like we think it was. It's people that come to work every day. And when I say they showed up, they showed up. And there was two ways they left this event. Either to go look for a house or with a plan, solid to work towards building a home. And so I am very grateful for our district, and I'm grateful for the people who invested in them. They sat in one of the rooms for 4 hours for a workshop. And that to me is commitment and dedication. When they left out here, they were hopeful and they were excited. And so I say thank you to our district, thank you to our staff. I cannot do any of this without you. But I assure you, the plan that you're doing with this K-1 and all the work you put into academic achievement, together we will achieve them for the family as a whole, and our children have a fit, stable, living environment every night. Then we become ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dr. Smith, you're going to do your update, and then we'll take a moment of silence thanks to Ms. Goldberg for giving me the names of the employees that passed away. So we'll first hear from Dr. Smith with his update, and then go to the moment of silence, and then I'll hand it back over to Dr. Smith to start the superintendent updates. So Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Vice Chairwoman, members of the board, staff, and community. Hope everyone's doing well this evening. We're off to an incredible start this school year. It's a little scary. I think school, the things are running. And I just want to thank our tremendous staff. I certainly appreciate our phenomenal community. And I really want to thank the Board of Education for your undying support. I don't want to belabor the point with the incredible work that Mrs. Field did with facilitating the NACA organization, having their housing conference right here in Lake County, helping so many families. But I just want to thank Mr. Bruce Marks and his incredible staff for coming down and doing incredible work. And I had the great fortune of attending one of the sessions. And Mr. Marks allowed for myself to make some remarks. And what I share with the NACA organization is that the people in public schools, we save lives, but so do NACA. And I just want to just publicly thank you, Ms. Hill, for having the insight and wisdom to help the board. I'm also very excited to share that the United States News and World Report for best high schools lists have been released, and Elite Scholars Academy and Martha Allen Stillwell School of the Arts have once again been listed among the top high schools in the state of Georgia. This year for Georgia, Elite Scholars is ranked number 5 and Stillwell is ranked 24th out of 433 schools. Right here in Clayton County, we can boast about having two of the top performing high schools with 100% graduation rates. This election continues an 8-year trend of these schools being listed among the top 50 schools in the state. And I must remind our stakeholders that Elite Scholars also has the number one middle school in the entire state of Georgia. Not 10, not number 5, but number 1. It's a blanket exception, but the data to substantiate its number 1 ranking with 100% of the students, not 99.9, but 100% of the students having achieved proficiency level on all categories of high state testing. Incredible. Right here in Clayton County. Also, this past Friday, I want to give a big shout out to Ms. Shakira Rice for putting together her 3rd annual dinner and dinner. We have over 1,400 employees present. These employees, in addition to serve as the official 25-26 kickoff event, setting the tone for an exciting new school year as one of many opportunities created for Clayton County Public School employees. This event gave staff a chance to relax, connect, and enjoy each other's company as we wrapped up the first month of school. Beyond the fun, it was also about strengthening relationships, fostering fellowship, and continuing to build a positive culture and climate that made Clayton County Public Schools strong. Also, I want to congratulate Dr. Blocker. Over the past 2 weeks, he started his nonviolence power of peace tools. I've had the privilege of joining district leaders and speaking at the Department of Student Discipline Prevention and Intervention's Power of Peace violence prevention tools. During these tools, we had reached over 100 high school students with an urgent message to reduce violence, foster meaningful relationships, and strengthen academic outcomes by ensuring our schools remain safe spaces for teaching and learning. We appreciate our community partners, such as District Attorney Tasha Mosley, Pastor Mel Smith, for taking time to educate our youth and impart wisdom for better decision making. I thank again Dr. Melvin Blocker and Dr. Maureen Buna and the entire DPI team for this proactive solution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
These are some great updates. I'm very impressed with the updates. Once again, one of the questions that I want to pose to Dr. Smith is, we have two great schools in our district. I would love at a retreat to break down an analysis of how those 2 schools have gotten to the status in which they've gotten, because we definitely need to get some best practices out of those 2 schools for the rest of our schools, because the blueprint is right there. So let's consider that one of our retreats, a deep analysis of those 2 schools.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, back here before you go into it. I'd be remiss if I didn't send a shout out to Mr. Shivy Brooks, teacher at Drew High School, for shining light on on this topic. He had pointed out how Drew defied norms, and it went viral, it went national, and I just want to thank you for having insight and wisdom for highlighting that need.
Thank you. All right, once again, Councilor Swarbrick, I have these names. I'm going to read out the names and then we'll take a moment of silence for these individuals. Douglas Jones, Camilla Frazier, Patricia E. Grace, and Kimberly Black. We take a moment of silence for these individuals. I thank you and God bless them. Mr. Superintendent, the podium is passed over to you for the updates.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I would like to ask Dr. Crawford and Dr. Keith Colbert come down and give a presentation on student enrollment.
Before we get started with the presentation, board members, this is a lengthy presentation which they put together for us. I think it's going to be quite impressive. Can we hold every question until they finish their presentation? So what I would advise everyone is to pull out your pen and write down the questions so that you can remember them at the end of the presentation.
Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chairwoman, members of the board, and Dr. Smith, I would like to provide a high-level overview of changes in enrollment over the past 5 to 10 years, comparing our neighboring districts, state, and national trends. I would also share demographics, potential underlying causes of enrollment change, and its implications. Here you will see a line graph that illustrates a 5-year trend of Clayton County Public Schools enrollment from school years 2021 through 2025. Each point represents the official end of the year enrollment reported to the Georgia Department of Education through the student record data collection. In school year 2021, we had 51,802 students, reflecting a drop in enrollment tied to the pandemic. The following year, 2022, the enrollment rose to 52,394, the highest point in the 5-year period, as students returned to in-person learning. Enrollment then remained fairly steady, with 51,881 students in school year 2023, 51,102 in 2024, and 51,079 in 2025. Overall, after peaking in the school year 2022, enrollment has held relatively steady. The next slide shows Metro District comparison 5-year trend based on the March full-time equivalent, our FTE count, which represents the official enrollment reported to the state from 2021 to 2025 school years. Clayton County maintained enrollment levels close to 51,000 students, as stated earlier, with its highest total in 2022. APS, Clayton, Fulton, and Henry County saw enrollment shifts, with some years of growth and other years of modest declines. Fayette County's enrollment has remained very steady over the past 5 years, holding close to 20,000 students each year. Now we have projections and comparisons. Here is a national projection. This shows our national projection from fall 2012 through fall 2031. This indicator discusses all overall changes in the number of students enrolled in public school, including both traditional public schools and public charter schools, as well as changes over time by grade level and by state. So if you look at this, you will see an enrollment decline between fall 2022 projected through fall 2031. The total enrollment across the nation is projected to decrease by 5%. And that's that first line at the top. If you look at that second line, broken down pre-K through 8 enrollment, is projected to decrease by 5%. And the last line you see there is grades 9 through 12. Enrollment is projected to decrease by 6%. This is based on the National Center for Education Statistics. Now, our potential factors influencing enrollment is the county population is flat to slightly down with our demographics and birth rate. We have fewer newer kindergartners over time. The housing costs, mobility and stability, we have a rise in our housing costs, and then an increase in post-COVID evictions. Our post-pandemic enrollment school shifts, which is like competitions for students, is the growth in homeschooling post-COVID, and also a growth in charter school enrollment. Of course, we are aware of state and federal policy changes that may have implications, as well as immigration and language trends, our foreign learned population enrollment. Now, let's take a closer look at what I mentioned before with our trends. There's an estimated decrease of 2% to 3% total enrollment for the state of Georgia over that period that I expressed from that fall 2022 to fall 2031. Now, if you take a look at the next slide, this is very telling. This shows all the states, and it shows different increases and declines across the various states. It looks at the number of students enrolled in public schools, like we said before, as well as changes over time by grade level and by the state. This is due to primarily projected declines in the school age population, total public elementary and secondary school enrollment to decrease between 2022 and 2031. Now we'll take a look at demographics. If you look at our demographics, it shows Clayton County demographics. Now just take a look at that. Okay. Now, this chart, what it shows is our demographics with the bottom line being the blue, the light blue, that's 2025. So if you look at our Hispanic population, we've had a slight increase there. Our American Indian, we've had a decrease. Our Asian population, we've had a decrease. Our Black population, we've had a decrease. Our Pacific Islander, we had a decrease, and then lately we've had a slight peak. Our white population has shown a decline, and then our multiracial has shown an increase. Now, community eligibility provision, also referred to as CEP, allows high-need schools and districts in Georgia to offer free school meals to all of our students without requiring families to submit individual applications. Clayton County takes advantage of that, but this shows our economically disadvantaged rate. If you look at the top, that's 2020, and at the bottom, 2025, and as you see, it actually has gone down. Okay. And with it going down, it could have implications on nutrition services being available in the future to our students. We have an application over the years, and eventually, I think it's 2027, we'll see a shift in that. Now it shows our students with disabilities, again, with the light blue being the current year. And as you can see, there's been a slight increase. We did lose some students during that pandemic year, but students are now coming back to school. And then we have our English language learners. And it's approximately 7,000 to 8,500 of our students are represented here in our special populations. Key resources and supports for our special populations. Of course, for students with disabilities, we offer specialized instruction and IEP-driven supports, certified special ed teachers, paraprofessionals, and support staff. And then we have IDA-funded resources, services, and family engagement as part of our support. English learners, we have ESOL instruction and language acquisition programs, ESOL teachers, specialties, and interpreters, and Title III supports and family engagement. Why enrollment changes? We have some potential factors. We talked about a few earlier, but we have in Clayton County, we have a high student mobility transiency rate. We've seen from 2021 to 2024, we've had an increase of 12.8 percentage points with our mobility rate. Frequent family moves within or outside the school district disrupt our enrollment stability, and students transferring to other public charter or virtual school options are represented in those numbers. Economic challenges, which we mentioned before, housing instability, rise in rental costs, higher poverty rates in some areas, and increased resilience on reliance on temporary housing and shelter programs. We also mentioned before, we talked about our demographic shifts. When I mentioned the birth rate, there has been like a 6.8 percentage points decline in birth rate in Clayton County. Fewer school-age children are entering the system, although we show more people are moving here. You're not having many students that have school-age children enrolling once they're moving here. An aging population in some neighborhoods, reducing the pool of our new enrollment. And then, as mentioned before, alternative schooling options such as homeschool, charter school, and those post-pandemic families have not returned to school. This line graph here shows private charter homeschool enrollment trends. The top line is homeschool. See an increase there. Private school, you see a decline. And then charter school, you see an increase, which is the yellow line. Okay, what are strategic implications here? We have to target our critical transition years, pre-K to kindergarten, 5th to 6th, and 8th to 9th. Explore hybrid part-time options such as labs, arts, athletics, dual enrollment to be appealing and recapture our home, continue to be more appealing because we are appealing, and recapture our homeschool students. Use marketing campaigns and showcase events to highlight strengths versus our competitors. Now I'll turn it over to Mr. Joseph, who will talk about facilities and staffing alignment.
Good evening once again. As of October 2024, our FTE was roughly 51,000. District-wide, our capacity is 58,000. That's approximately 7,000 available seats. This is why our capital improvement plan focuses on existing infrastructure, not necessarily building for growth, but replacing school to school, i.e., North High School, and new for middle school, or modernizing existing facilities, i.e., Knoxville High School or Local High School. Given the 7,000 available seats, there are opportunities to consolidate schools. So there are opportunities at the elementary and middle school levels. And so we're currently studying these options, and we plan to present the board in November in the board session. For our place.
I'll close with a few implications with a summary. And I'd like to make a point that we had several of our amazing team members that put this presentation together. So when we finish, we'll have them available to help answer any questions that you may have. Enrollment is projected to decline 2 to 3% over the next 5 years. This means tighter funding and staffing. We'll have demographic shifts, mobility, and rising housing costs shaping our enrollment patterns. School choice growth increases competition for families and students. Facility consolidation and repurposing necessary for efficiency and sustainability. The opportunities that lie ahead, strengthen recruitment and retention at critical transition years, the years that I mentioned in the previous slide. Expand innovative programs, dual enrollment, arts, hybrid options to attract and retain students. Repurpose our facilities to meet community and program needs. Leverage land assets for our long-term capacity and growth planning. Keep equity and student support at the center of all of our strategies. We also want to explore opportunities to forecast future student enrollment, facility consolidation and repurposing necessary for efficiency and sustainability. And that's basically what we have provided for you today. I'll now turn it back over to you for questions.
Thank you very much for adding that presentation. A couple of questions that I'll start off with, and then I'll open up the floor to fellow board members. In your strategic plan that you presented here, one bullet point that I did not see is a strategic approach to recruiting more Hispanic staff and teachers. It clearly indicates that the only growing demographic is the Hispanic population. Can you speak to that a bit?
Absolutely. We will definitely, our HR team works very hard to look at our data to drive their strategic recruitment plans. And they look at the national trends across the state and beyond the state to look at where those populations are for our teachers. And they go out and they recruit. So we will definitely make sure that would you like to add anything? Okay. We will definitely make sure that we continue to add that to the priority under the broader topic of recruitment to make sure we use that data to highlight that group.
Good deal, but I truly want that effort to be genuine because we've been asking for this for years. You know, realizing Hispanic growth.
That is an actual genuine effort on our behalf, sir. We are doing all we can to make certain that our staff as close as we can reflect the population.
And I wanted to go even down to the level of, I think, Dr. Young's program for teachers, the program that we have. We need to see more Hispanic students, you know, that are going to college, that are eventually going to catch us, this trend, you know. So those are the kind of efforts that I'm looking at. But before I get to you, Ms. Holbrook, I just have a question for Dr. Holbrook, if you can help me think through this, Dr. Holbrook. What I'm noticing nationwide is it's a 5% decrease. Like if you notice all over, it's always at 5%, except for when we get to New York and California, where they have double-digit, you know, decreases in enrollment. With that 5%, can you help me as a board member? I don't know what I'm asking, but as a board member, how do I plan for that 5%? Because it doesn't seem like it's going to go further than 5%. What kind of adjustments do we make in order to get to that balance?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chairman, that's a critical and very important question. As you know, enrollment impacts FTE and QBE funding. If we have decreases in enrollment, at some time there will be decreases in QBE funding. It depends on the level. As you know, students are funded through a weighted category program. So it all depends on who the students are, what level, elementary, middle, or high, and that will definitely impact future funding.
So in that case, it's 7,000 seats that we're down, you know, in comparison to our capacity. In that case, from a board perspective, exclusively a board perspective, getting ready to go into budgeting season, what would be the highlights that you would tell our board members to watch?
I would just say, you know, I would look at the 7,000 seats being down, that the 7,000 seats that's available in our facilities infrastructure, meaning that we expect growth and we have those seats available if students were to migrate into our district. But as we plan, as we strategically forecast for the future, I mean, the numbers are real. As you can see, this is just not a Clayton County Public School phenomenon. This was a national phenomenon. So all districts, not just Clayton County Public Schools, are planning, strategizing. As I stated earlier in the first question, if enrollment is down, it draws concerns. It draws concerns for future planning. We have a lot of, you know, as the political landscape shifts, there's a lot of interest out there in offering alternative options to education. So we have to plan for that, position ourselves to be able to strategically address that issue as it continues to unfold.
Thank you so much. Board members, Ms. Gaynor?
I'm going to piggyback a little bit on the Hispanic, and I'm going to say bilingual teachers. I was an exchange student in Mexico, and my husband and I, who she's going over, she went to El Paso, Texas. She had no problem getting around El Paso, Texas, because there were so many bilingual people there. And at the time, these people, the bilingual people, Hispanic, went to Walmart and said, we think you should add 50 cents an hour to our hourly wage because we are bilingual and we have all these people coming across the border, in which Walmart said no. So everybody who was bilingual decided they weren't speaking anything but English for the next week. It took less than a week for Walmart to cave because they lost so many people coming across the border to shop at their stores. Now, I don't know, maybe we should consider some kind of stipend for anybody who's bilingual to come to us, or who are already here, because I'm sure we have bilingual people here who don't get any more for being what they are. And that is just, to me, that's just like another degree. So I think that we should consider something like that. Just my suggestion. And the next thing I have to say is we need to be very, very careful when we start to look at closing down school, because I've been here through zoning, and it's not pretty. We have got to bring this up in as many positive ways that we can communicated with the community of why we're gonna close their school down the street and put their child on the bus for more hours of the day. So I'm not saying that we can't do it, I'm just saying we need to be very, very cautious of how we explain it and how we give the community the opportunity to understand.
Thank you. Ms. Walker, I'm gonna put you on hold for just a second. I just want to get you, Dr. Hayden. I'm actually going to poll both the board members, so I just want to knock out the urgent questions first, then I'm coming all the way around.
I just had a question, and maybe you all can answer one with Dr. Sharman. So if we're looking at the new center that's coming up in Riverdale, would that have do you think that would help with the 7,000 seats? I mean, how are we projecting those numbers for that particular center that's coming out really early? Now I'm just trying to see projections, since we're careful about trying not to close schools, and we have a new population of students coming in, what is our projection of numbers from that? I mean, if you all can get some type of projection.
So we have looked at our census reports, and we've looked at our daycare areas, and we've looked at our current enrollment in kindergarten, and how many kids are coming in kindergarten that are not going to pre-kindergarten learning areas, and we feel like those numbers will not be impacted. They will help to increase our enrollment. I think it will be a positive, innovative moving forward for Clayton County Public Schools, and it'll also help us to build our educational infrastructure at a much lower area. We want to start at the kindergarten, pre-K, first grade area to strengthen our students before they get into the upper grades. So that strategy, we think, will put us in a great position. But I'll let Dr. Johnson add if she'd like.
Thank you. And, we will serve 3-year-olds in our program. So we are going to actively recruit those students. Actually, Ms. Denard and her department, they've already started, we're getting the information out to parents now so they know that we will have opportunities for 3-year-olds as well as 4-year-olds to join our program. So we don't foresee it causing a problem for, if anything, it's going to be attractive to a lot of our parents.
I still have a little angst about that because they're looking at taking our money and then putting it over in public schools, and then we look like we need it because, it's just that tug of war. I'm not in tug of war, but at the same time, we're not needed because just like you said in the presentation, we have families that are moving in that do not have school-age children, and that's the population that we grab and pretty much try to attract, along with my colleagues here with NACA. So I'm looking at all of that, listening to all of that. How can we be more, not just reactive all the time, to be proactive to make sure that we keep that, like you say, looking at all this data, to be able to communicate. I just want to make sure that we keep those numbers, and that we're on top of those numbers. I know Dr. Long will make sure that I'm done now, all others, but I just have concern about that. I know that you all on top of it, but if you can just keep the board aware of where we are with that, so we don't have to close down schools, and that's it. Now, we just a discussion coming up in November. It's not like it's a rush now, but a discussion in November.
I want to respond to that question. We won't have a problem opening up that center, especially if anything. I don't even think that, because I think that we're only going to have so many classrooms. I don't think maybe 4 or 5. Is that correct? It's at 3-year-olds?
Yes, we'll have 3-year-olds, and we're going to begin with, we'll have 4 classes of each 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and as well as our kindergarten. And then we're going to bring on first grade the following year.
Yeah, I want to mention this because I've had a conversation with some of the daycare owners, and their concern is about money. My concern is about education. And one of the things that I think that helps us with this, with the 3-year-olds, is one thing that if you look at our greatest need, we don't have special ed teachers. And one of the problems with our special ed population is that a lot of our parents don't realize that we are legally obligated to teach students at 3 years of age. So that will help us. A lot of kids have needs. Their parents don't even bring them to school until their kindergarten. It takes a long time to even get a kid in a special ed program. So then, here that kid comes in with needs, and then it takes us a long time to finally get, services. And if we already have a 3-year-old program, that solves the problem. So their problem is they're worried about money. I had a lot of daycare centers right in my neighborhood, and they none of them have any problems, putting people in there. I think the kid thing will be having a waiting list, because we need to start serving kids early. But I want to point out some other things in regards to our situation. You mentioned charter schools. Right now, we have a charter school that's in our district, and these 1,400 students could be our students. But years ago, our board was anti-charter. And we need to be thinking about things when we make decisions about whether we want a charter or not, because if we had said yes to the board integrity, those 1,400 children that are in my way every day, when I try to leave my house because I was doing car riders, I wouldn't have that problem. They would probably be on some buses, and that would put us in our FTE count, and we would be at 52,479 students, which would be more than we had the year after we came back from COVID, which was 52,394. Other things that we got to think about when we're talking about planning, as Dr. Colbert mentioned, we may be 7,000 over, but our problem really isn't necessarily that we lost that many students. If we look at the new Forest Park High School, Forest School, we do need that too. Forest Park Middle School, that school holds, what's it gonna be about, 1,200 students or more. They don't currently have that many students, they have a lower number. So some of it has to do with the facilities that we're building have additional seats and more space, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, however, on my end of the county, again, our enrollment is declining, but 1,200 of those kids go to the school around the corner from my house. And they could have been with us if the board had just said yes years ago. Also, movement charters still just opened. Now, remember, we said yes to movement charter, but the State Board of Education apparently had a problem with their mortgage company running down. So now they have opened up and they can take multi-counties. So we lost students to them. I think we said no to the private school, but the state said yes, so that's another charter school we got to look at. They'll be open in some, and then we will have Tapestry, which I think will help us because our problem right now is we don't have enough special ed teachers, and that will be their specialty, and I think that will help us. You all talked about equity. We're not dealing in equity right now, because years ago, as I look across the days at Ms. Cooper's daughter attended North Clayton High School. Because North Clayton High School had an IB program, and Lovejoy had an IB program. Guess what they didn't ask for? They didn't ask that you had a 3.8 GPA. Dr. Courtney said, do you want to come? Do you want to be in an IB program? And those people committed. When we try to have some of these special schools, and I don't want to take the thunder away from what we just said about one school, but when you are selective about who comes to the school, you should rank high, because you're not letting just anybody come in there. If you really want to have equity, then I'm gonna look right now at that beautiful school at Marble High School and the beautiful school that we're building at North Clayton. But we're not gonna have equity there because you're gonna let all those nice flight simulators be over there. And then we're gonna turn around and build over $100 million schools in my neighborhood. But you don't want to give them the flight simulators. You want to say, well, we'll just let you have drones, and we'll let you do with maintenance. That's not equity. When she was here, she had places on both ends of the county. We need equity in that. If you're going to have a program, you all like to put everything in Jonesboro. You got a nice program down on the south end of the county. On the north end of the county, you got a big for programs to come, because you all talk about taking surveys. You don't have to survey. We would like to keep our kids on the north end of the county. Give those schools the same thing that you give everybody else. We want those flight simulators in North Clayton, because if you put up a school that costs so much money, then, well, we need to be looking at our neighborhoods, having people that are more affluent, and they want to be in a school that has a more affluent, type of curriculum. The other thing we talk about, I'm gonna put this out here again, because when I suggest things to you all, it takes 10 years for them to go into force, and then when they go into force, you see some good results. Because I do have some expertise in these things. I would like to see, if on our end, we're about to do something with Northcutt. I say we consolidate 2 of those schools up there, and we put a performing arts elementary school on the north end of the county. So we don't have to listen to these parents mad because their kids can't get into K-Base. That's real equity, and that's something to think about. And let me close by saying that I've got to thank Ms. Denard, Ms. Vicky Denard with the pre-K program for helping me out today. I thought I had written her name down, but I didn't say it.
Good evening, team. How are y'all? I had a couple of points wanted to raise. First of all, thank you for this presentation. And I think one of the reasons, as I was reading it in preparation for tonight, I was looking for the why. And I think the why is important, and you have it in a slide, but I didn't necessarily hear you talk about it unless I missed it. I wanted to invite you. As well, I don't know if we can get there, but I'm looking at slide 26. And the why has come up, but it really is about this consolidation piece. And I wanted to not only give you all an opportunity to talk about it, because I think we're talking around it, but I also have a follow-up question to that. And the reason I think it's important to talk about consolidations is facilities is an operational matter. I repeat, facilities are an operational matter. But the Board of Education's 3 responsibilities are policies, budget, and supporting our superintendent. So my questions are about budget and policies, because facilities are an operational matter. And as a proud alum of Clayton County Public Schools, I obviously don't want to see anything closed, but you didn't say close in this presentation on purpose. Because a closure and a consolidation are 2 different things. I think it's important for not only my colleagues to hear and understand that, but for our community to understand that, because you're planting seeds. It's August, and I don't anticipate doing any of this in the middle of the school year. So what you're trying to do is tell people along the way so that there's no surprises there. And I want to invite you to talk about slide 26. I do have a couple follow-up questions, but I would love for folks to just understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Exploring reference the fact that we build new schools, we build with a larger footprint.
I'm not sure if your mic is on.
Can you hear now? Can you hear now?
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, Ms. Lori referenced the point that when we build new schools, we build them with a larger footprint. And which applies the board to make a consolidation plan. And so she brought the example of the new Forest Park Middle School that has a FTE of 1,200. And so we are studying the matter to determine what schools will have the opportunity to consolidate. Given our 7,000 seat capacity and increase, there are other opportunities throughout the district. And so we are exploring that, and we are not yet prepared to present options to the board at this moment. To your point, we don't want to alarm the community, but to your point, it is coming. And so more of a macro perspective, we see opportunities at the elementary level, maybe 2 schools, and we see opportunity at the middle school level as well, again, 2 schools. And so these are the opportunities that we're studying, and we will discuss, present those opportunities to the board at a later date. Okay.
And I think that's really smart. It's fiscally responsible to make sure your seats align with your changes in population. And so, I mean, I point this out because we talk about equity, especially throughout the county, and when I read this consolidated plan, I know that it's draft form, but I see an impact at the north and south of the county. And, just wanted to point that out, that struck me as well, and that is a bad thing, it says we're looking at the whole county, it looks like, and just, wanted to raise that. And then, the second thing I'll post here is, it's really awesome to see these conversations happening so early. And I think, again, my mind goes to the budget. And so I just shout out to this board for supporting the budget committee that we have. Because the budget, since it's a moral document, I don't find that we should have a budget season. The budget is a year-round moral document. And so the budget committee is really going to be leading in alongside you on some of these conversations, because if we can talk about consolidation now, we can probably be talking about all the other budget pieces that unfortunately we don't really talk about as a board until like April or May. So we can start this early. I see a lot of opportunity to resolve all the other conversations as well.
I have a question. Have you presented that slide yet, or I thought that was Dr. Culver's?
They asked the question slide.
Yeah, we did.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Okay, I couldn't.
Ms. Williams? All right, Ms. Hill? Ms. Cooper? All right, go ahead.
I'm going to go back, again, this is a process, but my children went to Mount Zion Elementary School. I was that loudmouth parent that complained that Mount Zion Elementary had 1,200 students, and went to our facilities person at the time, I was not on the board, and let them know the minute property next door went for sale to put Mount Zion primary. Since then, they have built 4 more apartment complexes. And when you have apartments that have 3 and 4 bedrooms, they are not single parent, they're not single adults, they're gonna have children. So I need us to keep that in mind. One of those was supposed to be for seniors, but I've been told that they've already started moving families into that section. So what we were told was not quite the truth. So I need us to be aware of that, because I think there's gonna be that growth in certain areas, and that's more of a redistricting versus a consolidation. So this, that's what I'm.
Board members, I thank you so much for your questions and actually starting the conversation about enrollment numbers. I think we've got the commercial preview of what we'll be discussing in our retreat. I think that the staff has heard us, and I think that they've taken note. And I think that we should have a really great work session at our retreat on November 1st.
Before you move on, I'd like to follow up. Ms. Bowles mentioned 3 of our primary functions, but also one of our responsibilities. The most important, despite those terms that she mentioned, is student achievement. So all of this plays a role in student achievement, the budget, operational, all of that type of stuff is a part of student achievement. And I want to reiterate, because nobody responded to my comments or questions about the equity in the programs. I think that we need to, I hope that when we're looking, Ms. Baker mentioned something that is really kind of profound, because if we started talking about redistricting or rezoning, we're gonna make some parents uncomfortable, because one of the things, and even back to building, when we built Drew High School, we built Drew to alleviate overcrowding at Forest Park, and I believe Marlins, a couple of schools, but we redrew the line for North Clayton. We only had one school that fed into North Clayton High School, and that was North Clayton Middle. And that school still sent kids to another high school. So we need to be very careful in anything that we do. And because we need to, look at our feeder schools and hope that we don't kill, but we want to play this all the way down to 800 students. And even when we build a school now, again, it won't be, our numbers are probably going to go up. One thing, Mr. Joseph, as far as capacity, because right now, North Lakeland has how many seats and what will be the capacity once it's rebuilt? That would probably up the seats, won't it?
Mr. Joseph, I'm gonna let you answer that question. After you answer that question, I'm then going to ask Dr. Wiley if you can close this discussion.
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Wiley, we have nothing further to add. We will be able to give a more robust response to these concerns when we have our retreat. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Just answer that question. I'm not trying to get Dr. Mr. Joseph, can you just say?
1,200, Mr. Joseph.
What's the?
1,200.
Okay, yeah, so that would probably be.
All right. Dr. Riley, he gave us on November 1st.
Okay.
I thank you very much. To Ms. Moses' point, with the committees, I think that Ms. Hill is getting ready to show us a presentation on the committee that is responsible for the renaming of the homeless department. Ms. Hill worked, first of all, I thank you so much for taking that call. I asked Ms. Hill to develop a committee, follow certain guidelines in the committee, and she has delivered and doing that without question. I want all our board members to pay attention to the presentation that we're about to see, because when it comes to these developed committees, you know, I'm expecting that same framework, that same type of intention when we put these committees together.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, good evening. Now that I have a clicker, let's see what happens. Okay, so as Chairman Straker indicated that he asked that I work on a committee with our homeless center renaming. And this was in accordance with policy FDC that I was asked to oversee this committee. The membership of the committee consisted of Ms. Brenda Harrison, Ms. Crystal Perry, Dr. April Crawford, student Dorlin Agile, and myself, and Ms. Sonia Davis as well. And the purpose was to explore the possibility of renaming the Clayton County Public Schools Homeless Education Department and recommend a new name that is thoughtful, inclusive, and respectful. Our goal was to align with the McKinney-Vento Act, the community input, and the district values of dignity and equity. Our timeline consisted of an in-person meeting on June 3rd, where we did the brainstorming of potential names. On August 1st, we had a collaborative meeting with our CCPS Communications Department to craft a public announcement. August 12th, we had a committee review and selection of the final names. Our key discussion points consisted of community sensitivity, the language matters, and to avoid stigma, value of visibility, create a name that inspires, dignifies, and hope. Comparative research, review of programs in surrounding districts, and community engagement, ensuring inclusivity and representation in the process. So the top 5 names, we had the McKinney-Vento Services, McKinney-Vento Program, MVP Pathways to Promise, HED Pathway to Promise, HED Pathway to Stability, and Pathways to Promise. The recommendation was McKinney-Vento Program, MVP, Pathway to Promise. The meaning behind the recommendation to reflect the Federal McKinney-Vento Act, which was passed to ensure educational rights
and protections children and youth experiencing homelessness. It honors family with dignity, hope, and stability. It emphasizes pathways towards opportunity and long-term stability. McKinney-Vento definition of homelessness: individuals who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence, including sharing housing due to loss of housing of economical hardships, living in motels, hotels, or campgrounds due to lack of alternatives, staying in shelters, transitional housing, cars, parks, or similar settings. And so we concluded again with the McKinney-Vento MVP Pathway to Promise, and that's what we will be recommending to the board to consider in renaming that department. And again, it's just where we are at this particular time. When we talk about the McKinney-Vento, it indicates that when our children are experiencing homelessness, that they are experiencing 3 to 6 months of learning loss. So we thought that that would show the need, align with our federal guidelines, and also allow people to feel dignity and not be named with a stigma because of homelessness.
Great job.
Okay.
I'm opening up the floor for questions from the board members. She's made a recommendation. Based on that recommendation at our next work session.
No, I am. I'm open for questions.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm open. I was just gonna ask him, there's a video, but I don't know how to click on. But go ahead, Jimmy.
Okay. So based on that recommendation, we'll add it to the agenda, and then the board members can, consider that recommendation from our committee head on that project. Is there any questions from the floor?
Are you saying to wait until when to do this?
That the next work session, not this work session. The next work session, we'll put it on the agenda and for consideration and discussion, more discussion, and then we will vote on it that following week.
So, October.
Right.
Okay, is it possible that you could have this information that we saw tonight, could you put it in e-board?
Absolutely.
So we can read it?
Absolutely.
I think it's I like the whole, you did say number 2, correct?
Yes, that is correct. McKinney-Vento Program MVP Pathways to Promise.
Yeah, I like that because I like the whole, the MVP part, because to me, it's the most valuable part. And I like that. I don't need to wait until then, but I'm in agreement with it. It's a great job for me.
Good deal. Ms. Cooper, do you have anything? Not Haley. Ms. Haley?
I just want to thank Ms. Hill and her committee. 2 years ago, for graduation, we had a young man from Lovejoy High School who got and spoke about his homelessness. And I sent him a letter because he is not what people think of homeless. A lot of people think homeless is that guy laying in the street who done himself wrong with drugs and alcohol, and this is our children. And to see them succeed when they have had some of the hardest cases I've ever heard. And the only thing I would add to your committee is you should make Ms. Davis for senator.
I agree with that, Ms. Baker.
Let me add that you said Ms. Davis, but I also want to applaud Ms. Brenda Harrison. Because for years about the name of the building and what that actually knows, because we already know that, we've had many indications when we think about Chelsea and what she did, being about Victoria, attending probably got it wrong, I think in Harvard, and she's been in a couple of Ivy League schools, so we know what can be done.
She's at Yale.
That's why I'm not, I don't have to wait until October. I'm ready to go next week.
Before I get to you, Ms. Walls, thank you very much, Dr. Gorey, for bringing up Ms. Harrison. Ms. Harrison, this was your initiative. If you remember, you came up, you spoke during the public speaking, and that committee was created thereafter. Board members, let's follow that model. That model is perfect. I mean, when our community asks us to consider things, let's create committees so that our board members can come and do what Ms. Hill did and present, the ins and outs of that. So Ms. Hill, kudos to you. I mean, the committee was done to perfection, and I thank you so much for coming through for us. Before I, let me let Ms. Rose speak if she wants to add anything, and then we're going to see that video. Ms. Blackwood, shoot up that video.
Thank you. And I would just always say that it's always an honor and a privilege to serve our community in any work that I have an opportunity to do as a board member. And so I just wanted to share a little bit of the Achieve the Dream NACA. Their staff was so diligent and wanted to get this video over to us today, so you could just see some highlights of what the experience was this weekend for our community and our staff. And I would be remiss if I did not mention that one of our teachers, 5th grade teacher, North Clayton Elementary, Miss Talia Franklin, was approved to purchase a home.
Welcome to NACA's Achieve the Dream event, Clayton County.
My dream come true.
Welcome. So with that, everybody, welcome to the NACA. Welcome to NACA's Achieve the Dream event, Clayton County.
My dream come true.
Welcome. So with that, everybody, welcome to the NACA family. Good morning. Welcome to NACA's Achieve the Dream event. Congratulations. She needs the house right now, right? Right? Just a little bit of context. You go through here and we've got probably over 1,000 people here just on the first day. We had hundreds of people lined up before we even started at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's amazing because, all the costs, you paid for that, you laid the foundation for this, and why?
I proudly serve District 7 in Clayton County. And we are here today because I am a NACA homeowner. 25 years ago, I was introduced to NACA. At that particular time, I had an income of $20,000 a year. I had gone to multiple homeowner programs that just said no, like flat out, you don't qualify, you don't have what it takes, and you didn't have the credit score. And when I came to NACA, that was not the truth. NACA helped me to become a homeowner. So as serving on a board of education being our core.
At this time, if I can get Ms. Bivens to come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, board members, Superintendent Dr. Smith, colleagues and community. This evening, I will be giving an update on the monthly financial report for the first month of this year. It's of July 31. So as in the month of July, we collected $9.8 million in our revenue. Most of that was in the state revenue. But you know, local taxes have not started coming in yet. We do have on the agenda tonight to approve the millage rate. Once that is done and the county does theirs, I believe tomorrow, the tax commissioner will deliver everything to the state to get certified, and then the bills will go out, I believe in September, and we should start receiving some funds in October and November. And then year-to-date total expenditures for the month of July was $15.4 million, which is about 2% of our total expenditures. I'll be happy to answer any questions regarding the monthly financial report if you have any.
Just a question, one of our last meetings, we talked about how the feds had put a hold on funding.
Yes.
And that they had finally said that they were gonna release it, and we had an idea of when we were gonna receive that, or haven't received any of that.
So most of our federal funds are on a reimbursement basis. So because they haven't released that, we can start requesting reimbursement, sending in the quarterly reports that we send in to get those funds. You're welcome.
Any other questions?
No questions. I just want to clarify, I was being sarcastic earlier when I referred to the budget committee. Our Board of Education does not have a budget committee, and we do have practices. The committee practices, there's different than policy. And so I just wanted that although we are in practice having a two-person budget committee that meets with you with pleasure, I wanted to make that we still as a team need to update those policies to demonstrate our oversight over our plans and influence, which obviously includes our passion for academic excellence. As indicated during the practice, we know the academic. No questions on the budget, but thank you for the budget items on you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have the SPOS revenue collection report. In July of this year, actually we collected it in June, but we received it in July $6.3 million. As compared to last year, that is quite a bit more than what we collected last year. It's $5.8 million. So we are right a little bit above our average is $5.9 million. I think we've been saying we use 5.8, 5.5, between 5.5, 5.8 is our average. So we are above average, and we collected, we're on target to meet our collections for our SPOS 7. Any questions on the SPOS revenue collections?
Any questions?
And then the purchasing report, you have 3 reports. Report A of the consumables, report B of the non-consumables that are greater than $10,000 but less than $100,000 that don't require board approval, but we do have to present them to you. And then we have report C, which is anything over $100,000 that requires board approval before spending. And then also included in your packet was a supplemental report for Georgia, I think it was Georgia Aquarium, for student trips. It's included as a supplemental report. Any questions on any of the purchasing items?
Any questions on the purchasing items?
And then I have 9 budget amendments that were included in your packet. Did you want me to go through those, or if you have any questions, I entertain any questions you have on them.
No, but I do have one question.
Yes,
Sure. Okay. My question is, are these allocations in the current fiscal budget or in an upcoming fiscal budget? Are they basket, reimbursement,
Okay, this is a good question. These are current, for this current fiscal year. So remember when we approved the budget, we had some audit findings years ago that we weren't doing, including some grants and things in the budget. And starting last year, we started including those budget amendments because those items need to be included in the budget. So when we bring these budget amendments to you, I think you see a lot of those are from different agencies, they're grants. So we have to bring them to the board for approval before we can, spend it, because that does increase our expenditures and our revenues as well. The current budget year, yes, ma'am. You're welcome. That's all I have.
Yeah, I have a question. Going back to the first report, when you stated on the number of warrants, the transportation request you was for statewide, and saying that money from that not under the contract. What was the reason why you couldn't know that this could be more about the use of what would it mean to?
Ms. Brewer. Oh, Ms. Hall, can you answer that question?
Yes.
You gotta come up here.
They filed bankruptcy.
Bring up the subject about this committee and the policy. And I'm gonna say this again. We have a budget committee. I think I just heard mention of 2 members. There are more than 2 members on the committee. There are 4 people on that committee.
That's the finance committee.
Well, finance, budget, semantics. Their purpose, that was the purpose. And I'm happy to say Mr. Stricker is the chair, since the assignment was not understood as far as what the committee was supposed to do, that he can then maybe put it in another term, because I know he was on the committee, Ms. Beckman was on the committee, Ms. Bose was on the committee, and Ms. Tellis was on the committee. So, for clarity, because we keep having this conversation, and we need, when we say things, we need to make certain that what we're saying is true.
No, because you know, clarity is in, right?
Well, clarity is when you're the chair,
Okay,
as you chair the committee, you need to know how to operate as a chair.
let's move on to the next topic. Thank you very much, Ms. Nichols. Mr. Joseph.
Good evening once again. For the month of August, we received the executive summary for capital projects. There were 8 payments totaling $32 million. There were no change orders for that period. Additionally, you received the capital purchase report for purchases of less than $250,000. At this time, I can address any questions for ongoing projects.
Any questions for Mr. Joseph?
Yes, not really necessarily a question, but just a comment regarding the purchasing report, because I think that might, the information that you gave us, did that reflect, I guess, the preparation for moving from one building to the other, then you had to go back to the other building?
Yes, ma'am. There was one item for technology for Fountain Elementary School, going back and installing the interactive flat panels.
I just want to make a suggestion that before we make those moves this next time, that we're absolutely certain that we're ready to make the move, so that we don't waste money and time trying to prepare and where they're moving to isn't ready. This is my suggestion.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions for Mr. Joseph? Hearing none, we will go to the human resources.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, other members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Smith, colleagues and community members. The Personnel Changes Report summarizes all personnel actions for the period of July 15th through August 7th, 2025. The Human Resources updates were submitted to the Board of Education for your review. I am happy to answer any questions that you have.
Are there any questions for Ms. Lord? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, wait, one thing. Ms. Alfred, thank you so much with your presentation. I like the chart that you started out with. I think those might have been, I think the first chart was maybe the resignations, I think. And then you put the others in as the new hires.
The rehires?
I think the last pages were new hires. But I wanted to say, could you just have could they always the same, because I like the beginning pages, they were a little bit clearer. You understand what I'm saying?
I don't, but I would love for you to show me and we will, modify it later. Because I think here in the updates for the presentation, because we had over 1,000 entries, they're not all projected here.
I'll show you what I mean, because I really like the beginning of your presentation, not those charts, but you had, the way you had it. I'll talk to you about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holbrook. We're now on board matters. Policy Series G is our first reading. Is there any discussion on Policy Series G at this moment? This is just our first reading. Seeing none, the next item is the Policy Series F. This is our first reading on Policy Series F. Are there any discussions on Policy Series F?
Yes. Which ones, I'm gonna be clear, I might be thinking about G. Which one's paid leave? Just here.
Ms. Garrett?
Was that the G or the N? Okay, then I do have a G question. And it's really just, kind of exciting, and a shout out to the people I work with, for my day job. But the extension for paid leave is a new policy that was passed last session, and it's HB 1010. And that policy doubled paid leave for statewide employees, including public school employees, which is not just teachers, all of you in this room, our bus drivers, our lunch ladies, everybody, gets double paid leave, so from 3 to 6 weeks. And as a feature of HB 1010, having the ability to get paid leave is one thing, but to notify your staff that it's available is a whole other thing. So in HB 1010, the very last part, there's a notification requirement, which was part of our advocacy. And this notification requirement mandates districts, just like ours, to tell the employees, hey, did you know you have this right, this new access? If you're an expectant mother, an expectant father, the ability for us to take care of our loved ones and ourselves. So my question is about the G, policy G update. My question is really about like what we're doing policy-wise to make sure that folks not only notified, but have access and the awareness of this great new statewide policy. So kudos to you and the team for making sure it's entrenched in policy, and shout out to the whole, everybody who worked to help get this across the finish line during this legislative session. That's my question on the policy. How is this impacting us, for our teachers, and for our staff?
So I will start out and then I will allow Ms. Alden to come. One thing I do know is that on the Human Resources webpage, we do speak to the policies and the actual leave benefits that the employees do have. In addition, the employees are made aware during their onboard, if I'm not mistaken, as well as other opportunities. And so the employees see it in various ways, but this policy is going to be one way. And then also the information is included when the district speaks to the various benefits that the employees do have, in addition to being on the webpage, and they do have the opportunity to discuss it and speak with the members of the human resource staff, in particular the federal leave. They have a particular team that speaks to those various leave types, including FML, your USERA leave, which is your military leave, along with your paid parental leave and this other leave, the newest leave that you're speaking of.
And I recognize the sensitivity of this topic, especially coming right after HR, who's trying to fill gaps, right? But part of our problem is turnover, and part of turnover is exhaustion and burnout. people need time off to be able to mitigate that. And so hopefully these systems can work together, and more people know that you don't have to just, work yourself so you need months of, unpaid leave and access to some of these, support throughout the year. But just like to see our getting compliant and, working regularly. Right?
And there is something else that Human Resources is working on. We're looking at some type of opportunity where there's a sharing of sick leave. But I also want to speak to the fact that our district does offer approved medical leave, which mirrors FML for individuals who don't quite reach the threshold for FML. So the district as a whole is very open and very understanding when it comes to the need for leave for employees.
Thank you.
I'd also like to use this opportunity to thank publicly Ms. Bowles. I had an opportunity to witness firsthand the incredible work that her and her team are doing, strong advocacy for greater conditions for educators. So thank you for your work, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the district annual development CTAE budget. Is there any question in regards to that item on the agenda?
We don't need the presentation, it's just the annual budget request for the budget to be approved by the board.
Thank you, Dr. Pitt. We have three items that we do need to vote on as we're closing out the meeting. The first one is the adoption of the fiscal year 2025 millage rate. I'll let Dr. Smith make the recommendation, then we'll call for a motion, second, and then we'll vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, and members of the board. I ask that you strongly consider keeping our millage rate at 19.6.
Can I get a motion? Ms. Baker?
I move that we continue our millage rate at the current 19.6.
Ms. Cooper? The motion has been made and properly seconded. Can I get a vote on the millage rate? Are you abstaining? Okay. Six abstaining, one abstention. Okay, two abstentions. You got that recording back. Fantastic. We now have the FCC cybersecurity pilot program. I think that's technology, right? Is there any questions in regards to the pilot program? Is there any questions from the board members? Yes.
I just want to say thank you, kudos to all and everyone for getting this going.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, can I get a motion for the FCC cybersecurity pilot program? Ms. Hill? And I got this, Dr. Hayden as a second. The motion has been made and properly second. Can I get a vote? It's unanimous. All right, I just need an approval for the motion for the approval of the proposed board meeting agenda for September 3rd, 2025. Can I get a motion? Kevin, Ms. Doreen, second. Fantastic. The motion has been made and properly second. Can I get a vote? It's unanimous. People, that's it. Good night. Meeting adjourned.